When I was 17, doing 16-hour shifts, learning about fish industry, and I told to myself, smelling all that shit, and I told myself, like, I want to find a way how to make money without coming into this facility.
Welcome to Adapt or Die, Transformative Leadership Conversations, the show where top executives unpack the pivotal moments that force them to pivot or to perish. I am your host, Andreas Pedersen. I'm a former tech CEO who turned leadership coach, fractional AI executive, and founder of Leaders Adapt. Each podcast, we dissect a real challenge, explore the mindset shift, and tactical moves that spark change, and spotlight the success that follows. Today's guest has one of the more unusual paths into AI that I personally know. He's born in Ukraine, he's raised in Russia, and he moved to Norway by 17. He's a serial entrepreneur. Sergey started out importing wine from Moldova and trading food between Norway and Russia, then became employee number 4 at a fishing company that hit $300 million and controlled 60% of all fish coming out of the Barents Sea. He founded and sold his own IT company, became CTO of Norway's largest search engine, which Google then acquired, and he spent the next 20 years as a management consultant and the first Russian-speaking certified Scrum trainer in the world, training more than 10,000 leaders through wave after wave of change. Here is why that really matters. Sergey is not an AI hype guy. He is an operator and a teacher who has watched 3 or 4 technology waves wash through and train thousands of people to ride them. Today's question is simple. What does an owner actually need to see, change, and do right now if they want AI to become an advantage instead of a threat? Let's get into it. First of all, welcome so much to the show, Serge.
Thank you so much for inviting.
Today, we're going to have an interesting conversation. I know that every time you and I jump on a call, it's going to be a long conversation, a lot of AI, a lot of technology, and a lot of futuristic conversations. Let's dive straight into it. But I think the listeners need to hear a little bit more about your backstory. Wine importer, employee number 4 at a fish company doing $300 million a year, a CTO of a search engine that then got bought by Google. Walk me through that, and how does that guy end up teaching other CEOs about AI?
Cool. So I was entrepreneurial, I guess, most of my life, and as you can tell, I was looking for ways how to make money. Being young, you want money, and I still remember the first time I was 17 when I moved to Norway, and I came to a little town in Norway called Båtsfjord, which is beyond Polar Circle. There are 2,000 people there, and all of them are working in fish industry. There are 6 factories. I think the setup is still the same. 6 fish factories in that city, 2,000 people, and probably the whole city works on those 6 factories. And we came there to learn about fish and fishery business. And you can smell the city from 10 miles away. And I remember, like, it smells bad enough when you approach the factory, but the moment you open the door and you get hit by that smell, and we were 6 students, right, at age 17, two ladies and 4 guys, and girls, of course, are like covering their nose, and the translator who was guiding us there says, "The smell of money." And I remember this thing. I mean, it sits still in my head up till this day. I spent 2 years learning about fish industry, going to that fish factory, smelling that smell. And I told to myself, and I was working 16-hour shifts, either peeling the shrimps on it. Like, imagine the belt with shrimps going kind of all the time, never ending, millions of shrimps. And you are manually kind of checking what the machine was not able to peel properly. And you have to be that manual controller who just takes manually all the unpeeled shrimps and throws this to the side, or cutting fish for 16 hours, or loading fish on the dock for 16 hours, like 70 kilogram, like 140 pounds boxes. When I was 17, doing 16-hour shifts, learning about fish industry, and I told to myself, smelling all that shit, And I told myself, like, I want to find a way how to make money without coming into this facility.
Very good
So,
motivation.
and that's what brought me to other things I started to explore. And was, apart from importing wine from Moldova, I was importing fine bone china from Russian very famous manufacturers from Tsar times. And I was doing a lot of shit. I wanted, I could do anything not to come back to the factory. And funny enough, having that experience with fish factories got me hired to that company that you mentioned, where I joined as employee number 4. And I think for me, this was a ticket to life, essentially, because I was hired as assistant to the owner and the founder, and those two guys, they were geniuses. They were doing everything and anything for their clients, and that's where I started to learn the mindset where, hey, whatever clients wants, we need to make sure it happens. Uh, and those guys reinvented the fish industry, and that's why they ended up controlling 60% of all the fish in the Barents Sea, because back in those days they were like, okay, what does a ship owner want? Uh, and they were asking like, hey guys, tell us, and they're like, okay, I normal procedure, the vessel fishes at sea, and then you need to discharge. When you are full, you come to shore, and you lose time, right? Going from the place where you're fishing to shore might take you a day. So you lose one day not fishing, and then one day you spend discharging at the facility at the land, and then one day coming back. So you lost 3 days, one day of not fishing, $10,000. So 3 days out, you lost 30,000. And these guys were asking, hey, can we save that time? And essentially they came up with innovation. They started to come with an empty giant cargo ship in at sea, come into another vessel, and if the weather allows, they will go side to side, discharge in 8 hours all the fish from fishery vessel to the cargo vessel, and then move on. And the guy just saved 2.5 days, right? So in 8 hours, he's done the work that required him 3 days to do before. And they were doing thousands of small innovations like this and completely reshaped the industry. And I was just watching all of it, like I was 18 years or 19 years old, watching how they are working and how they are doing anything that their customers need. And this was a great business school for me, I think.
So how do you get
Um,
from this to what you do today, Serge? I mean, it's a long journey. I understand the motivation, but what was that
I
moment where
had,
you got it?
I had education in math and computer science, and even when working at fishery company, I was doing all our internal IT systems manually. So I was automating Excel sheets. I was creating systems that we could monitor all our fish, no matter where it was, at sea, on the freezing storages, on cargo, trains, trucks, right, everywhere. We had a logistic system. So it was like a little ERP system built with me in my own hands, uh, all tracking in real time what's going on. And of course, doing this, I was automating certain business processes already there for our own need. But then with this, I got the idea that, hey, this system could be used by other traders. I came to my boss saying that, hey, I want you to become an investor in my new company. I want to build similar thing. And it took me 15 years to realize that I came to my boss with a suggestion to sell cheap his biggest competitive advantage. I was stupid and focused on my IT, like every founder, right? Like I can only see my product. The product is so beautiful. Your baby cannot be ugly. And then I was not even realizing that I'm asking a guy, hey, let's take your competitive advantage. Now you know what your competitors are doing, where the fish is, how the fish moves. and you can use it to your advantage. If you sell the same system to everybody, everybody will know where the fish is, right? Uh, but it took me, yeah, as I told you, 15 years to realize that he told me no, right? I will not become an investor. Don't I pay you enough? Let's just continue working. But and he said, I understand nothing about IT. Let's just continue whatever we are doing. But I was stubborn and young and wanted my own thing. And so I found investors, jumped out of that company and started to build that system. So essentially, I think step one, like jumping out of this company and starting my own, was kind of a move that I wanted to do because, hey, I'm young and I'm gonna be my own boss and I'm gonna become billionaire. It turns out you need to learn a lot. Like I've done all the mistakes with this startup that I can go on and on. Like there was so much learning there, mostly learning. I ended up selling it too, but I think I was kind of I've done every mistake that a founder can make, I think, there, because I was so obsessed with the product. I didn't do any market research. I wasn't asking my clients. And I thought I was good with this, right? I was watching how the guys were pleasing the customers. But the moment you start being your own boss, you kind of forget all of it and just think that you know better what your customers need, which is usually ends up in a disaster.
It's the
In,
complete opposite, right?
yeah.
Serge, how did you? So tell me very short here. How did you then end up doing all the things you did, selling to Google, and then today you live in US? Like, what's the abbreviation, quick version of that journey?
Uh, I love Norway, and I've spent most of my life, still most of my life there. Uh, but at the same time, Norway is so good, so predictable, and so boring that I I felt that I need to go somewhere where there is more action, and I want bigger market. I mean, Norway is beautiful in its closed state. I mean, it's a little country with 5.5 million people. Everybody knows everyone, I think, even countrywide, and very small market. If you want to do any products there, you should be thinking about bread and toilet paper, I guess, consumer products, because otherwise there are not enough people in the country. Like if you're thinking about anything like I don't know SaaS or programmers, right? Programs or apps. There's never enough population to create such or to create enough demand for you to build something. So yeah, either you do fast moving consumer goods there, or you need to start thinking outside the country if you want to grow big. So and that's I think I mean it's very predictable in terms of everything is so stable there. You've been from Sweden, know it, right? You can get mortgage. Like there is no big gap between rich and poor. People are doing decent money. They work 8 to 4. At 4, everything shuts off. Like no one works in Norway after 4. People go to their, I don't know, kids and families and sports, which is a nice way of living. But I think I might come when I retire, come back.
You're too entrepreneurial, and
Yes,
I'm excited.
I need more
You're too
action.
much of a visionary. Let's go into because I want to make sure that the listeners get into hearing about your take on AI, which I think is kind of remarkable. So, Serge, you worked as a CTO, as a CEO for, and you run several companies for the last 20 years. You've seen so many different technology waves. Be honest now, like directness. Is AI actually different, or does it just feel different?
Uh, I think it's both. So AI, I mean, this is a giant shift, right? And I think, being honest, this is as big as, I don't know, getting the internet or finding the, like creating the internet. This might be as big as that, or inventing electricity, right? So I think it's a giant shift. Uh, from one side, in that regard, it's a giant shift, and every time a giant shift happens, it brings a lot of instability, and a lot of people start thinking, "Oh, okay, the world is changing, right?" And it's true. And certain people will typically fall behind. Certain people will jump on a bandwagon and start embracing these changes. And this is where I think AI is not different from all the other times of change. Is it's all about change management. It's all about the mindset shift, right? So how do we tackle a new wave? Like I've been, and as you said, like I've been on the wave of agile and scrum, right? uh, I don't see a difference, because the moment agile and scrum comes to disrupt traditional way of project management, the same way now AI is disrupting our traditional ways of working, where the answer is first and foremost in the way we perceive the world and in the mindset that we are carrying with us. So yes, it's a giant shift. No, the humanity have seen a lot of similar things before, and we went through those things successfully, right? The humanity is still here, still alive, and still kicking. So this is how I think it's like. Is it different? Yes. Is it similar? Yes, it's also similar.
So when you're talking to, let's say, non-tech CEOs, non-tech companies, what do they get wrong about AI in the first 5 minutes of the conversation?
Here I have a couple of things. The first, I found a very really cool way how to figure out if the person I'm talking with is in my bubble or not in my bubble. And I'm asking a simple question. Andreas, are you hitting the limit of $100 subscription to your Codex or to your Claude? And
And
this
my
is a
answer is
divider.
always yes,
This
because
is a
I have three of them.
divider. This is a divider between people who are now on the edge. Like if you hit the limit of your $100 subscription, I tell you, you are on the leading edge of this whole thing. You are experimenting maybe with other, I don't know, maybe 5 million people on this planet, and you are very early, and you are exploring the future. If you don't hit the limit, if you're okay with your $20 subscription, okay, if you are not even paying, you are far behind. Uh, if you and again, far behind, 90% of people are still there, right? I think 90%, if you take a globe, I've seen a very cool picture somewhere on social media that takes the global population of almost 9 billion people, right? And then there's a little dot for each 3 million of people. And so it's a square, which essentially 90% is gray, saying those people never even tried ChatGPT or Claude or anything, right? And yes, that's the majority. But then, so those people are there. Then we have more people, and this is where I think all the Western world currently is. Hey, we've seen ChatGPT, maybe even paying a small, like a $20 subscription, and then use it to ask different things, right? And my kids using it to solve homework. uh, but the real change happens after you hit that limit of $100 subscription. And this divides, to me, people that like, hey, am I interested to talk to you about AI? You should have blown your $100 subscription. Then I know you're doing something cool. You're experimenting with agentic stuff. You are programming something. You don't have to be a programmer, right? But I know you are an interesting guy to talk to. And that's for me a divider now. And this divider applies to business owners the same way. I'm saying, like, hey, dude, if you are today running a company, and it can be unsexy, old school business about, I don't know, building like construction work, right? Or, I don't know, elevator fixes or HVAC company, doesn't matter. But if you, as the owner, are now not hitting the limits of your, let alone like if you never heard about ChatGPT, never used it, you already now start falling behind. What's gonna happen? And I see it's happening already. First, they're going to be new companies launched in the same unsexy industry, but those guys will be young, AI native. They're going to be rethinking business processes from the ground up, being agentic. So instead of taking your, like, this is how our industry traditionally worked for 30 years, right? And then let's slap AI on top of our traditional process and we become 10% faster. That's not the thing that's gonna disrupt it, right? The thing that's gonna disrupt is younger guys having no fucking clue about I don't know if on this show we can say things like this, but they have no clue uh, how your industry traditionally worked, right? And they will come and rethink the process from the ground up, thinking that, hey, what if the main worker is the agent, not human? What if the human is only a orchestrator, a guardian, a rule inflictor, but not the doer, right? And the moment you shift your processes with AI native in an old industry, I believe that the efficiency will go up times, not percentages. We will not be talking percentages. We will be talking 5 times better, 7 times better, 10 times better, faster, right? Times faster. And of course, the moment those guys enter your industry and you're still trying to slap a little bit of ChatGPT on top, you're gonna lose to competition, right? And
I want to
I
add
see
something
now,
here, Serge,
yeah.
because I'm also in this space, right? You and I are working on different things. We're both fractional AI executives. I would say for the listeners that are hearing this, it's not as complicated as you think. We have talked to several founders and owners that go in and they say, hey, I had this software guy come in that was really good at coding. He wanted $100,000 to build this or solve this problem for us. And Serge and I are sitting there and we're looking at them as like, yeah, that's 2 weeks of work. Like that's old days. Something that used to take 3 to 6 months to build is now possible to do within weeks. And I think even if, so the listener, what I want you to listen to, especially if you're a founder or a CEO here and you think like, oh, this is going to cost a fortune, it's not the case anymore. And the things you couldn't solve before, you can actually solve now with AI. And I think it's so important to get that out, Serge, because otherwise it's just two tech people talking tech. No, you and I are primarily working with non-tech companies and the gains are insane. Speaking of which, what are some of the gains you have seen so the listeners can understand for the different industries we have been working with or you have been working with?
Yes, and I think it's a good point. So things, and point one is things that were impossible before become possible, right? So classifying things, sorting things, doing a lot of pre-work before LLMs, those things were requiring ton of brain power, ton of compute, and ton of deep ML expertise, like machine learning expertise, right? And therefore, they were not like they will never be ROI on those things, right? You can spend $1 million automating a little process, and if you're doing it manually, it costs you $1,000, right? And you will never get back. I mean, even if in theory we could do it, it never made practical sense. And now, when the moment that execution and the writing of code became so cheap and so fast, a lot of people now are figuring out that whatever was not possible, and this is an interesting shift, right? Where the people who are older, who know, like they have experience, right? They know that this thing is not possible. They know from experience that it is too expensive. And we become those, uh, like we train ourselves on something, knowing now from experience that it's not possible, but the thing is no longer there, right? And it's a very known psychological pattern, right? They like dogs, right? They start electrocuting the dogs if they are trying to come to a certain thing, and then they remove the barrier, but the dog is not jumping anymore. and not even trying because he knows that he's gonna get electrocuted,
So
right?
so you have old perceptions that needs to be buried because they are not applying anymore. The second thing is that what if you as a CEO and as a founder have those perceptions, can you only imagine what the rest of the organization have? And that's what you and I are up against many times. People do not understand. And then I want to also hear from you, Serge, if you were to give very concrete examples of what are some of the solutions that we have been doing today that benefits a lot of the companies. If you say a few, I'll say a few, and so people can understand how something so complex can become so simple.
Mm-hmm. I can like there's the first general invitation and kind of a rule of thumb or a guiding principle if you want, like allow yourself to dream, right?
Hmm.
Like whatever you can dream now, most probably it's doable. And like
Hmm.
I always lived with the motto, anything is possible.
Hmm.
Now it's kind of
It's
it's
true.
even more so, right? Now it's even more so. Anything is possible. So allow yourself to dream, forget about all those old barriers, right? And just like, hey, I can do anything. Look at your business with these newborn eyes, right? Imagine that you haven't been doing this business for 30 years or 20 years or 10 years. Uh, Allow yourself to dream and allow yourself to think that, hey, if I see anything which I hate doing, if I see anything boring, if I see a monkey job in my
Things to
business,
do every single day.
yes. And those things are extremely like this is very it becomes very interesting, right? If you're doing it every day, it becomes part of your routine, it becomes part of you, and suddenly you cannot even think that this thing cannot like what? I don't have to do it anymore?
Humans
How?
are a creature of habit.
Yes. And so here and I don't see now when we are doing implementations for our clients, I don't see a place where we cannot find a possibility of automating something if the thing that you are doing it repetitively, like let's say, I don't know, from 100 times and more, it can be automated. It most probably should be automated. The question is where to start,
Yeah.
right? So
And
there's
let's give a few examples to the listeners. So things we have done. Bookkeeping can be automated. Analyzing data in general, creating.
pre-qualifying leads,
Yeah.
right? Cold outreach, evaluating ICP, like client, like imagine you have a ton of leads and you need to figure out are they my ICP or not, right? Just qualification and lead qualification.
Proposal creation, research tasks, finding RFPs, doing marketing, social media, doing outreach on the different social media platforms to different people.
Analyzing what competitors are doing, stealing creatively from competitors, reusing scripts, right?
And we even have examples where we have taught people who could barely even share their screen on a Zoom recording or a Teams meeting. We have them vibe coding. One guy who runs a concrete manufacturing plant even came in and he was like, there's no way you're going to teach me how to code. We taught him how to code and now he came back. It's like, I built out the whole quality control system that is mobile friendly. And it was just
Yeah,
crazy. We have
amazing.
so many wins. What I want to challenge the listeners with is a mindset that I think has worked a lot for a lot of the CEOs and founders we worked with. And that is, if you can get an intern, someone fresh out of college, and you're able to explain the process to them over a few months, AI can most likely also do it.
Yeah. If you can teach a human in a couple of months, you can probably teach a machine. And the key here is like you need cases, right? So the more something happens in your company and the more occurrences you see, the higher you can probably find out the rules, exceptions. And this is another, of course, from one side, I also don't want to say that everything is so easy and let's just jump on AI and tomorrow the system, you will build the perfect system. It's not like this. I think there are a lot of places where we will never probably allow AI to take certain type of decisions, right? Like, yes, we can ask AI to prepare materials so that a human can take a decision. That's one thing, right? Preparation work, analysis, investigation, blah, blah, blah. But for certain type of decisions, maybe we will never get there, right? But for other type of decisions, it's easy. So, and every business owner can easily think that, okay, maybe you will not want to trust AI tomorrow to sign all legal docs and to deliver those docs to the government with your, like, I don't know, doing filing for you all your taxes, right?
Exactly.
Maybe we
So
are not there yet, right?
you need, we often recommend to obviously have an AI policy inside of the company. We have 3 tiers, red, yellow, green, of the data, how it's used. And I think human in the loop is still something that is extremely important. Can you tell the listeners what that means?
Yeah. So, and that comes well into the conversation. Certain things you want to have people to double check, triple check, right? And uh, and there is a gradual, like, what my point is that you can increase the level of trust, and this is how I want business owners to think. Like, in the beginning, zero trust, and it's okay. You don't trust robots, you don't trust the system, you don't trust it, but stay curious and ask yourself, is there anything where I hope that the system can help me, right? Approach it from the perspective of curiosity and no trust. So I'm interested, but I don't trust it, and it's fine, right? And then let's say I'll come up with a stupid example. Imagine you're having your emails every morning. Like, a lot of business owners suffer from 1,000 emails in their inbox, right? So imagine you are coming with interest and zero trust to a system that automatically kind of goes through your emails. Step one, you can say, okay, I'll connect my AI to my inbox and ask it to filter out spam, which obviously looks like spam. And because I don't trust it, it will put it into another folder outside of the inbox, right? What happens is, if your folder inbox had 1,000 emails before, after, you are still not trusting, you are not deleting anything, but now your inbox has maybe half of the emails, 500, and 500 are clearly marked spam sitting in another folder. Go to that other folder on day one, check manually. You are checking yourself, you're not trusting, right? Or ask your assistant to check. Find me an email which is not spam in this folder that AI thinks it's spam. And if you do it once and you see it's spam, and if you do it twice and you see it's spam, and you do it 3 times, and then the barrier can be, for each person, it's personal. But after 10, 11, I don't know how many times you need to check. And if it looks spam every time and it does a good job, hey, maybe you are okay not checking that folder anymore. If it's there in spam, it's spam, right? The key things also, and then think about it, you can increase the level of trust, right? Gradually. That's my point, right? So next step, hey, let's filter out all financial information. Maybe it's very important. I want it separate in another folder, right? And then have someone else check that folder and see that AI is doing great job filtering out those things. Um, and then the interesting thing is, and I want everybody to think about it, if you don't trust, and you have the right to do so, but the second thing is, you need to have tools that allow you to verify. What I see a lot of people are doing wrong now, implementing different AI systems. They are not implementing any type of audit or any type of logging. So whatever AI does just happens, and there is no way to answer the question, what did your AI do? Show me last 100 decisions of your AI. What was it looking at? What was the input? What were the options? what was the output, what was the decision, what did AI do, and all of it should be sitting in a log forever.
I agree. And
So
a lot of people miss that search. A lot.
I think a lot of, like most people, I think, get carried away with, oh, this thing can do so much. And this is another, I want to bring another metaphor here. And I was thinking it for my own kids, and it relates to kids, it relates to work. And I found a brilliant thing. So I think it's a brilliant metaphor. AI can become, it can become a crutch. So imagine you break a leg and it hurts so much that you cannot walk. If you have a crutch, you can walk. And imagine that you get used to the crutch. And now you're okay walking with the crutch. That it's obviously better to walk than not to walk, right? So if we compare sitting in, or laying in your bed, not being able to walk, and walking with the crutch, of course, crutch is much better. But what people sometimes forget, and like AI can become a crutch that solves things for you, right? Helps you walk. But you can also look at AI as an exoskeleton. So, which is you are able to walk yourself, but if I put that thing on top of you, now you can, it amplifies your efforts, right? It becomes a lever. If you could jump, I don't know, 3 feet, now you can jump 30 feet because of the exoskeleton that you have. And I don't want AI to become crutch for us, for humans, right? I don't want us to forget how to do things manually, right? I don't want us to stop judging. I don't want us to stop systems thinking, how things are connected in the world, right? So I'm actually afraid of people relying on AI, and that's where I bring kids, right? They are so used to like, oh, AI can do it. Why do I have to learn how to count, right? That thing is very dangerous,
It's a slippery slope.
right?
But
Yes.
and a lot of things we talked about this, how AI is today is a little bit more reactive. It's becoming proactive. I would say it's becoming much more agentic, intelligent, self-going, but it still requires some knowledge. With that said, I want the listeners to understand, even what Sergey and I are talking about, we are actually teaching and training people that are completely not technical, that barely can start a computer. And the benefits these companies have been getting from building $500,000 worth of leads in pipeline within a few weeks to basically, I'm not saying you're going to have to go fire people. You don't have to. You can do more instead. But one person we worked with, they basically could cut 2 employees and save a massive variable cost by just setting up AI instead. However, an important question now is why should a CEO learn it now instead of waiting for it to become even easier?
It will become even easier, of course, but I think you lose the competitive advantage. So think about it in terms of any novelty that comes to market, right? And this is where we can say AI is nothing new. Hey, people had tools before. You're riding horses, and some guys start riding cars, right? You can continue riding horses, but like, will you like, and maybe you can continue riding horses until you die, right? I'm sure back then when the transition was happening from the horse to the car, right? Some people maybe were stubborn and skeptical to the degree where they said like, screw you, I will not use this metal thing, right? I'll continue riding my horse, I'm fine. It puts a bunch of, like, essentially it leaves you behind, right? The world moved on, you are
Exactly.
left behind. And I always thinking, even, and this is what keeps me as a founder and as a business owner, on the edge, and this is what keeps me interested. This is what keeps me learning, right? I want to continue learning. I don't want to become, I always have this a picture of my own mother when I'm trying to explain to her the technology, and I gave her like computer. No, she couldn't do it, right? And I gave her an iPad, and she's like, but how do I do it here? And I'm like, Mom, there is just one button. There's just one button. And I remember telling me to her all the time, like we were on the call, and she's like, how do I do it? And I'm like, Mom, there's just one button. And I don't want people to become my mom, right? Being left behind by technology. She never learned how to use a computer, right? So she stayed in the world where iPad was okay for her, but computer was too much, right? And I'm thinking the moment we and in order to stay current, right? We are not inviting people to become programmers, right? But we are inviting people to stay curious enough in the technology. I don't believe you can 10 years from now there will be no business that is not utilizing AI in one form or another. They either gonna be bought out, dead, right? Out compete. So the question that we need to ask ourselves as business owners, why start now? Then, like, hey, in 10 years, either I'm gonna be left behind, dead, and my company gonna close, shut the doors, right? Or I can embrace this new wave. I need to start learning. The sooner I start, the better I'm gonna be there, right? So
So I want to add this to the listeners. There's a reason why I call this show Adapt or Die. And
yeah,
it goes in leadership, it goes in technology waves, it goes in a lot of different things. I, like Serge, have witnessed these changes happening many times before. This one is truly adapt or die. It will change the world. There will be a lot of good things. The train is leaving the station. You have to get on it. Dear listeners, get on it now. You don't have to work with us. You don't have to do anything with us, but start educating yourself. You're going to fall behind.
blow $100 limit on your Claude or your Codex.
Yeah, otherwise you're not doing it right. And one of our friends, or one of actually our customers, a surgeon I work with, we asked him this question. He said, remember, survival is optional. Evolution is sometimes good. But okay, let's dive into the lightning round here. Lightning rounds means I'm going to ask you a couple of super quick questions, Serge. You have to answer exactly what comes to your first mind. No argumentation, no follow up, one word type of answer or 3 to 5 words. Okay? Are you ready?
Okay. Yes.
AI is most overhyped in
Day-to-day life.
okay. AI is most underhyped in
Day-to-day life.
I love it. One skill every leader needs in 2026 that almost nobody is teaching.
Check your AI.
Trust but verify, basically.
Yes.
Yeah. Finish this sentence. The owner who wins in the next 2 years are the ones who.
Blows $100 limit today on Codex or Claude.
I love it, Serge. Okay. Thank you so much for joining the show. Where can people find you and who should be reaching out to you, Serge?
Find me. You can just go to my website, my last name, Google me, just Sergey Dmitriev, Serge Dmitriev. You'll find me on LinkedIn. You'll find my personal website, easy to find. And if you want to see what AI can do for you these days, and you don't have to be technical, you don't have to be a billionaire. There are a lot of things how you can start today. Contact us. We can find a way how you can start.
Okay,
Easy
great,
and
Sergey. And I will say this to the listener. Sergey is a person that is extremely good at teaching things that are complex in a very simple way. Many of the people we have met in the industry, they can be judgmental or judge you if you're not technical. Sergey is the opposite, which is why you should be reaching out. I have seen him help people who can, like I said, barely turn on their computer and then a few months later master AI. So he is your guy to go to. Okay, thank you everyone so much for listening to Adapt or Die. If this episode gave you a new way of thinking about leadership and AI, share it with one leader who needs the insight and drop us a 5-star review to help others discover the show. Don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube. It's Andreas, the CEO. Follow us on Spotify, Adapt or Die Podcast. And again, please, please, please leave a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts so we can help other people.